Long ago, before the maps were drawn with ink, and before trees stopped speaking, there was a general named He didn't pray before battle. He listened to the wind, to the soil, to something older than gods. He would stand at the edge of a forgotten vale, a gash in the land where sunlight held its breath, where no bird dared call, and mist never lifted, and there he'd hear the whispers. They weren't in any language, his men knew, but when Kalos returned, he always knew exactly where the enemy would strike, exactly who would die. And each time his victories felt colder. With every battle, he spoke less, dreamed less, smiled less, and one morning he gave no orders. He walked into the vale alone. No armor, no blade. By nightfall, the battlefield was silent. A voice rehearsing battle plans in a tongue no one speaks anymore. Not for war, but for return. No bodies, no crows, only shields planted like tombstones. And the fog thicker than it had ever been. Now they say if you sleep near that vale, you'll hear pacing a drag of steel on stone. Beyond the vale, past the trees that sway without wind, lies a lake. It has no name, only reflections, and none of them are true. Locals call it Miramir, a place where still water shows the past, but sometimes the wrong past. They say it remembers every face it's taken, every soul it's swallowed. He returned 12 winters later, unchanged, unafraid. His mouth was full of old silver coins, currency from a dead kingdom, but still the lake gives back. People long thought dead, returning dry, cold, and wrong. And carved into his skin, one phrase, "Not me." And if you stare too long into the lake, your reflection may blink before you do. A scout once vanished during the War of the Broken Helix. Now travelers leave offerings by the shore, salt, iron, and names carved in bark. And some nights, if the mist is thin enough, you'll see dozens of faces below the waterline, watching, waiting to be remembered or replaced. Sound fades, soft water, ripple, distant whisper, silence. There is a bell tower just beyond the edge of the vale where the trees grow thin and no path dares reach. It has no doors, no stairs, and no one has ever claimed to have built it. But when the wind is still, the bell sometimes rings. It chimes only once. He stopped breathing and the bell rang again, not once, but twice. No one has tried to erase a name since. Always at night, always when the sky is moonless, and if you hear it, you'll remember a name, not someone you know, not someone alive, just a name pressed into your mind like a seal into wax. And if it stays with you till morning, you are marked. The villagers speak of the name as a summons, a reminder, a rehearsal. Soon after the bell tolls, fog creeps down from the tower and things come with it. Things shaped like people, but pale as breath on glass. They never knock, they never speak, but if your name was whispered into you, they'll stop at your door. And whatever you do, don't answer the door. One boy once wrote the name on paper and tossed it into a fire. The smoke filled his lungs. So if the wind is still and the bell tolls once, do not speak, do not write, do not remember.
Beneath the chapel ruins west of the vale, behind 7 iron doors lies a room carved into black stone. No torches, no echoes, only a mirror sealed in silver, and a warning etched in bone. Look once, leave whole. Look twice, return hollow. He locked it away when it showed his own executioner's hands. The bells tolled the next day. He never woke, and his hands, they found them still clenched like they were trying to strangle time. They say the mirror does not reflect your face, only those who will grieve it. You'll see a widow weep, a brother break, a stranger light a candle you never knew they carried. And if you look too long, you'll see someone who looks like you, but is smiling. It was forged, some believe, from obsidian quarried in the shadow of the first god's tomb, used once by a king who feared betrayal. Now the mirror waits. It shows no reflection unless spoken to, and it will only answer a question you don't want answered. If you look and see yourself alone, no candle, no tears, no name whispered, then you're not the one dying. You're the one they'll summon, and sound fades, faint breath on glass, soft crack as if something behind it moved.
In the time of the pharaohs, God hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let his people go. And he said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice?" But when he let them go, God's power pursued him, and Pharaoh's heart was troubled. But he also said, "Even though the Lord has done all these great miracles, I will not let his people go, for they are our slaves, and we have a right to them by law." Then God said to Moses, "Reach out your hand and take your staff." And when they finally entered the promised land, they sang this song of victory: "Strike the dust of the ground, that it may become a nation of snakes and frogs." So Moses did as he was told. Then God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Pharaoh will not heed you unless you show him a miracle. And when you do the miracle, he will let the people go." So Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh and did just that. They turned their staffs into serpents before Pharaoh's very eyes. And Pharaoh said, "Oh my goodness, what is this?" And the dust became a swarm of snakes and frogs, and they stung the Egyptians and their animals, and the people fled into the wilderness. For 40 years, God led Israel through the wilderness, feeding them and clothing them and protecting them. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His mercy endures forever.
In the beginning, there was nothing. And then there was the general. And then there was the lake. And then there was the bell. And then there was the mirror. And then there was the choir. They were never 5 stories, only 5 warnings, and still no one left. The veil was never cursed. It was curious. It watched. It listened. It gave us echoes and asked quietly, politely, "Will you carry them?" And we did. Each time we whispered a name, each time we looked where we shouldn't, each time we answered a door we never heard open. It breathes in stories and sighs them back as places, a lake that watches, a mirror that reflects morning, a stone that hums. Some say the veil is alive, a bruise on the earth, a thought that once belonged to a god, now dreaming beneath the soil. History hums in the fog, and sometimes the wind will greet you by name before you say a word, because you were always part of it. You were always the final chapter. Not punishments, reminders that forgetting costs more than remembering. So if you ever walk the veil, step lightly. Names linger in the grass.